We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we have the privilege of performing to you on tonight, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung of the Kulin Nation, and we pay our respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, and all First Nations people who are here tonight. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land, and we never lose sight of the privilege we have to be here as visitors. I awake and moonbeams play above my bed, glittering like hoar frost to my wondering eyes. Upwards, the glorious moon, I raise my head, then lay me down, and thoughts of home arise.
床前明月光，疑是地上霜。举头望明月，低头思故乡。床前明月光。疑是地上霜，举头望明月，低头思故乡。床前明月光。
everyone. Thank you for that beautiful beginning and a grounding here, and bilingual acknowledgement of country. It was really beautiful, thank you. And that was an extended version of Kōng as well, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the ideas behind, but I wanted to introduce you both first, if that's okay. And maybe actually before that, just talk through the structure of tonight, because we're having some music, we're having some conversation. There's also going to be time for some questions as well later on in the night. And I think there's a merch table with possibly a chance to meet with Mindy and Becky after and maybe get some merch signed as well, which is cool. And my name's Eugenia Lim, and I'll be hosting tonight. But let us begin with an introduction. So I wanted to intro Becky Sui Zhen, who's a Chinese, Malaysian, Australian artist, musician, and creative producer working across audio, visual, and interactive mediums. Through her music and performances as Sui Zhen, loss is explored on a personal and societal level against the backdrop of contemporary tech-driven life. Becky's just returned from performing at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and I've been loving listening to your amazing new track, Sleepless, which is so beautiful. If you haven't listened to it yet, jump on the internet and listen to that. But please join me in welcoming Becky. I want you to clap a lot tonight. And I would love to introduce Mindy Meng Wang, who is a Chinese-Australian composer and world-renowned guzheng performer. I believe you've been playing it since the age of 7, is that right?
Yeah.
Pretty much?
Yeah.
And this traditional training is fused with lots of Western genres, so we're working through experimental jazz, classical pop, and improv. And you've also won a bunch of awards. There's like so many, I was looking at the website, including Best Musician, which is pretty cool, at Music Victoria. And you're much sought after as a performer. So I can see you've collaborated with Gorillaz, Regurgitator, Deborah Cheetham, Australian Art Orchestra, the MSO, and now, of course, Becky. So please welcome Mindy.
I'm improving.
She worked her way up. So.
Yeah, well, exactly. You've got to work your way up to Becky.
Yeah, totally.
This is the peak. Because we're talking about origin of you, I wanted to go to the origin story of your collaboration. Can you talk about, the genesis of this collaboration, how you first met? I think you were set up by Joe from Music in Exile. Tell us a bit about that early start.
You or me? You. Me. All right. Okay, so I was already working with this label called Music in Exile, and they're a really amazing label, non-for-profit, and the work is more about to help migrant and even people who doesn't actually mainly a lot of people who doesn't have a language skill to promote their music or record music or just become to continue to work as musician. In Australia, after they moved here, they a lot of them already professional musician in their own country, but then when they migrate here, because everything is so different, they suddenly just couldn't do music anymore. So this label was funded with that in mind to help those people who, the musicians lost their power here to get back into music. So they approached me and I started working with them. And one fun thing they do is they actually they introduce local musicians they pair the musicians together. So I think it's a really very great idea because through this, I actually found out some of my mostly important collaborations, such as with Becky. And Joe actually just came to me and asked do you want to do a performance at M Pavilion, and I'll allow you to work with local musician, and I think you should work with Becky, and you'll love her. And I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, and then the same thing was for
Well,
Becky
I
as
got
well.
an email that was like, I don't know, like, hey, I haven't seen you for a while, but I got this thing,
Yeah.
programming. Do you want to do it with this artist, Mindy Meng Wang? Here's a link. to
Yeah,
her stuff.
yeah, you don't know
And-
her, but
but I need to know like tomorrow, so
Yeah.
just tell me. And also he's like, yeah, just get back to me, and then I was like, Google Mindy. And I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that seems cool.
we
And
all did a bit of Googling.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, why not like committed to a performance
Yeah.
before having even met each other?
Which is quite unusual because usually you actually want to at least to see this artist perform live, and then you might have to already talk to them, and because you don't know what's going to happen, like because sometimes it's like speed dating, like sometimes it doesn't work out, right? Like so we all came together with great faith, almost like it has to work out.
I think, I guess both of us knowing Joe, obviously there was already
Connection
trust there. I wouldn't have thought that he would have put us together if he didn't really believe it was going to work.
Yeah,
so there was
true.
that kind of pre-existing thing. And then I think maybe it speaks to just the open-mindedness of Mindy and I as musicians, and it speaks to a lot of things because I feel like, had that happened at an earlier stage of a career or like someone's practice where their confidence or self-esteem was wrapped up in something else, and maybe they'd be a bit more like not as confident to feel like they could make that work. But I think we've both been musicians for such a long time that it's always an exciting opportunity to get to do something with an immediate output. Like there was an event, and to see if it works or not, like, and you'll find out very quickly if it works or not. Like, so I think rather than like these, sometimes people write to you, especially me as a vocalist, hey, can you sing on this track? This used to happen. And I try it out, and then like they just ghost me, and I'm like, what the hell, I did this cool vocal, and or something like, this is not what I do now. But that's another example of how things can be managed really poorly. But this is obviously, we had a lot of trust in Joe, and also that there was an event that to base it around. So I think it was probably about a week before we actually got together, and it was at that meeting we connected, realized that we both had experienced a loss of a parent in within a span of a few years, and that was top of mind still for us. So that we went to a nearby cafe to my studio, and we just talked for a couple of hours, then went back to the studio, and Mindy was like, well, let's just turn that conversation into music and pick out some of the themes and do that. And what you hear on the record is only like the second iteration of that, really. Like we did demos that day in my studio. I just set everything up to record. And that was those were the pieces, did a few random shows. And then we just went in, I think 2021, we recorded it, and then it came out, a few years later.
A very successful blind date.
Yeah.
It really worked.
I think the most important thing is like, when we start chatting, as one thing Becky was saying, like first we all in a very similar stage of life, and I experienced a very similar event in recent life, and then one of the important things we actually find we have same value, and I think that's the base of immediately we all knew that's beyond collaboration, and that we would be friends, and so that helps. Like we just want to be together, so it's like, okay, we'll definitely keep this instead of just doing one performance and go separate ways. We want to stick together. So it's like, okay, we have to we have a project now, and it's gonna keep going, so we can see each other, play together all the time. Yeah.
So a lot happened over the course of the time. So you met and then pretty much started jamming and recording demos. And then the album came out a couple of years later with quite a lot of personal change and loss, and also, I guess, global change, societal change with the pandemic as well. How did it feel to revisit, I guess, these raw kind of early songs and recordings after such a passage of time? Like, what did that time bring?
Well, I feel like almost feel like it's more relevant, and we didn't know. Like we were just the first layer of the creations is just all about get in touch with our conversation and inner feeling about life, certain event in life, and how we, we were actually start talking about the experience of lose parents or childhood. So very personal feelings in those things. But then a lot of our feeling, there actually is, I think a lot of people actually experience that. When we talk about it, we were thinking about it like everyone else, but actually similar stuff happens to everyone, especially in the last couple of years. People have a deeper feeling of those, like actually experience a lot, and they're more connected with those feelings, so it feels more relevant.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think for me, I had another, obviously we both had lots of personal change, and I had another big loss in that time as well. But this project for me felt like a safe space to re-enter like a public music space again, because I had the emotional support of another person rather than going just back to my solo project and navigating being a band leader and all that kind of stuff. I felt a bit more held in the collaboration with Mindy. Mindy was like understood the experience that I'd had. So I'm referring to like having my first son pass away. So that was in the intervening years, but this music was a very gentle re-entry, and also there's so much improvisation in and around our work that there's always room for me to express the current feeling I'm having. And to be honest, that's like me every gig. Like I've always been this artist fighting, resisting the pressures of the music industry, which is always like, like pop song stuff, and always not really ever fitting in. And sometimes, and it's the same as like assimilation, really. Like it's as in assimilating, it's a continuation of that mindset of assimilating into a dominant culture. And so I think Mindy and my collaboration was the first time that I was like celebrating my ancestral cultural heritage in this quiet way, just by merely collaborating with someone, having this bilingual aspect to our project, and being able to have space in the music to actually talk about who I am. Like, let's talk about the pronunciation of my name, for one, which I had anglicized for many years to make it easier for other people to say. So these kinds of things only possible in this collaboration, which was a really big thing for me. But maybe for Mindy, I don't know if Mindy'd been collaborating with lots of different artists from different cultural backgrounds for like a longer time. So, but for me, I'd always, been in that kind of like Western rock band kind of model of the music industry, I think. And then following that, like the dance music industry, which has its own kind of things that, it still feels a bit more experimental in that space. But so it was really like liberating on all levels for me to come into this project again after all those years. And particularly after the pandemic, which kind of was like a time, I think, where people could really sit with longer form music, and it's not a new thing to do longer durational pieces of music, but you're really fighting in a really like a system, like all the kind of ways you have the tools at hand, you have to promote your music, really try, like the 4-second drop-off rate on social media platforms. It really challenges people to sit with a longer form thing. So I think working with Mindy in this way really interested me on so many levels, because I was like, oh. And Mindy was really encouraging to also not over-edit or over-produce the early demos, which I love that too, because I was like, yes, that suits me.
Easy option.
Less work for me.
So you kept the expansiveness of the tracks.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And I think actually, I think it's such a good thing. I think so many people have so much skill and talent, but they don't trust their first expression of it. They question it and try and make it more appealing or something. But I think it's a risk of it stepping further away from the truth of what they were trying to say if you continue to do that. Not for all forms of work at all. I just mean sometimes, like with music, it's best to just let it be what it was. Yeah.
And I think this project, actually, we gain different things. Like for me, I think the most important thing is the connection, because as a migrant come here, things changed for me dramatically. Well, not dramatically when I think about. It's been years, but it feels like actually fast. And now, when I think about it, when I first landed here, it's very different, because I used to feel like I'm not connected, I'm really lonely, and this is a country I choose to give a go. And because I don't know, actually. I have to say, when I first came here as a tourist, I didn't like it here at all. And then when I had an idea, I was like, maybe I'll try to stay there and see what's going on. And I really hate it. But I don't know, like then a couple of years later, I came back, I was like, okay, I want to give it a go. And then, but now I just feel like really connected. Like I think, people like Becky is very important. They're the one to help me to grow root into this society, and I feel like actually this land. And the most important thing for me is the sisterhood that we formed over this project, and that's my comfort zone. Like and be able to just be there for her, and that's important for me as well. Like so I'm not alone here.
Yeah.
And there's meaningful, very deep connection there.
Yeah.
That it's more than music, like more important in a way.
It's like family.
Yeah.
That I guess that idea of being, I guess, a migrant here, coming here versus being born here, and what it feels like to be a diasporic person, sort of between homelands. Can you talk a bit about, I guess, those similarities and differences for you, like how you come together through the project, and I guess those different experiences, what that brings to your collaboration as well?
I think one thing, just like talk musically, actually, our experience, like being a migrant, of course, I bring something doesn't belong here to here, but my music intention is to make it grow and make it have a new form here. So meeting people and work together, it's like giving just plant another seed into this different environment and see how it grows. So the instrument I'm playing, called guzheng, it's an ancient Chinese harp. It has 2,500 years of history. It almost just played in a traditional way in China. And but I always feel like this instrument shouldn't be limited. Like piano, people play classical piano or piano concerto, but they can also play pop music, experimental music, anything, and country music, So I was just thinking why the instrument, guzheng, has to be limited, So when I came here, I think one of the, deep in my heart, like subconscious, like that's like I want to make a change with the instrument. But without forgetting of where I come from and all the tradition. So I think that's the mentality of like a migrant musician like me. And then I meet Becky, and I feel like Becky's music, even though it's like grown a lot on Western, music, but the culture tradition makes it very easy to connect with what I have. It's I don't know, I don't understand that. It's still kind of I guess, I don't know, like, I don't know why, actually. It just feels like when you talk about something, she get it. Like, when you make music, usually you don't talk. I think the secondary is music discussion. First is like, you have to really have this in the same channel. So I think maybe because Becky's experience and heritage, that channel is on. Yeah.
I wonder about that too. Like, I don't know, I've been thinking a lot about why, because I've never fully felt, like I've always been drawn to music that doesn't sound like music that's in the mainstream. And it used to be like, I always felt like I never kind of got on the same page that everyone else was. I totally had the, 90s, like, fan experience and went to like big day out festivals and totally got on board with that. But I was always seeking music from around the edges that felt a bit more truer to human feeling. So in that sense, I was always drawn to like, I don't know, I was really big into documentaries and when there was any kind of music from different traditional cultural groups or stuff like that. So, but I wonder about what Mindy's saying in terms of, you know, music and its imprinting over generations and our brains and how we kind of develop and whether that has a role, because when I connect back to music from my mum's culture or and my mum was from Sarawak, and it's like a different, you know, it's a part of Malaysia now, but it wasn't always, so it has its own many different indigenous cultural groups there and different music from those spaces. And my dad's side is like Celtic, and these are both very different musical influences, but I feel like traditional music certainly must kind of find its way out of, you know, if it's like, it's the same as trauma, intergenerational trauma, all this kind of stuff. If you're really open, I feel like, yeah, you can kind of hear other things. And working with you though, I kind of, I felt comfortable that I could do anything without any kind of judgment or without someone having an expectation of me doing something. And I think I've worked as like predominantly, I guess, a songwriter, producer, vocalist, and I play instruments. Like I play bit of this, bit of that, but I'm not like a trained instrumentalist on any one kind of thing, except for the trumpet actually. But I don't usually with that. Yeah, it's finding its way back, but. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have such scarring experiences of being made to play The Last Post when I was 14 years old, which is not meant to be played on a trumpet. So naturally, it didn't go that well in front of the school. Anyway, the point is,
that's like
still working through that.
Yeah, that's like a quite Asian, almost like a, you know, I feel like that's it. I can share that feeling because I had a many similar experience, like not on trumpet, but like forced to perform, forced to do something.
Like you're the best trumpet. You play this. Like, do I have to stand in front of the school and play? Can I go? And so that. But then in the current, I play with a bunch of musicians who are like way more like skilled and traditionally trained than I am at the moment, and that's actually where I've found another space for the trumpet to creep back in. But anyway, that's a separate...
next album, maybe.
Next album, trumpet.
But I think it's just like coming with no expectation, no judgment. And I think often, I mean, it doesn't feel like I want to dominate this conversation talking about like female representation or in the music industry or whatnot. But I guess there's still that kind of like within me, that kind of like female vocalist, you know, you do this role, you don't do that role, you don't play the producer role, you don't do the music direction role, you know, there's still that within me. But working with Mindy was the first time that I felt really on equal, you know, like, and there was no other, and I feel that in other collaborations, but I feel like it's really difficult to get away from people's expectation of what they want you to do. And because I do predominantly bring melody and structure and voice and stuff, yeah, I feel like that's almost just this unspoken expectation and sometimes. So I have felt that in the past, but I felt very free of that. And I guess that's how one of the songs, I don't know, I think I may have tricked Mindy into singing. I think I tricked you. I think I said I'll sing with,
yes, you did.
I said I'll sing with you, and then I just didn't sing. And then and then she was singing. I may have even done it live, and then she was.
And it's just like, oh, you should just do it by yourself. And it's good like this. I was like, okay. Yeah. At the beginning, I was like, okay.
She really like, it was really like not. I think, but now she's like, I need this kind of delay on my, yeah, thank you, Sam. Please. No.
I know what I'm doing.
Like, it's like, I've seen this transformation over the last year or even like 6 months where it was like this timid, like, you know, and now she's like,
yeah. I know what I'm doing.
You're a vocalist as well. That's so great.
Trained by Becky.
So expect a lot of, you know, strange sounds.
Yeah.
I love it because it's quite a lot to overcome the like, one's own voice.
Yeah, because like as you know, instrumentalist, you just don't, unless you have already been training on your voice, which some of the instrumentalists they do, but otherwise you'd be like, using voice in public is a very scary thing. Like even talking, like a couple of years ago, I would find this situation is definitely the worst scenario I could be in. Why do I have to talk to people? And then why, like on the stage when the light is shining on my face and I have to make sense.
Like this?
Yeah, like this. But now it's better. Yeah, so it's all like,
It's better.
it's come with the aging.
Yeah, you just roll with it. It's
Yeah.
so good. I would love to talk about some of the tracks that we will hear later on. I don't know if people have seen the wonderful music video clip for Watch My Mum Dance, which stars your real life mum, Mindy. It's pretty wonderful. Doing
Go on
calisthenics.
YouTube and type our name and or Watch My Mum Dance, that track.
And she kind of dances through Carlton Gardens.
Yeah.
And kind of there's so much joy.
My
in
mum
the
was
clip.
like, visiting. I was like, oh, come on, Mum. I have a good thing for you. And it's really fun. And then my mum was like, oh, yeah, what? I said, you know what? Like, I want to, I want to make a music. And then I feel like I just needed some, like, a film of you dancing. My mum was like, what? And I was like, don't worry about that. It's just me and then, another Chinese who's going to be on camera, like, speaks Mandarin. Like, don't worry about that. We're just going to have a fun day. And, you have just be yourself. And then we got to the place. My mom, like, actually, Carlton Garden, in the morning, they have, like, a group of predominantly Chinese doing the morning exercise dance, just like in China. And then so my mom goes there. I was like, okay, let's shoot some of this, shoot some of that. And some people was like, get suspicious. What are you guys doing? I was like, I'm just shooting my mom. Actually, I shoot a lot of people. And then I got my mom, like, her just walk through the gardens and all the kind of significant places. Oh, tourists to Victoria should use that piece of music because it's all like significant spot in Melbourne. And then she just do this like a dance that in my memory how she danced, which is it's fun and it also I can't say like wow I think it's sometimes it can look a bit silly, but that's exactly what I want. So I was like, let's do this. So she did it, and then she first 5 or 10 minutes she was a bit shy, but she totally loved it. She nailed it. You should really watch that video.
She's a superstar. She does really well.
Yeah.
Can you talk about I think it stems from maybe a childhood memory or like back in China.
We made that track just because we're talking about like, childhood, and I was telling Becky, like, when I was born, like it's 80s in China, like we just stepped out from like, starvation, Cultural Revolution, and just people start getting, a stable life supply, but not rich. Like, my mom was saying, like, back then just having money is not enough. You have to have this ticket together with money you can purchase things. So you have an allowance ticket. So every month you have like how many kilo of water per person. As a family, you really rational. Okay, we can only have one meat dinner or this like per month, and same with milk. So my mom was telling me when I was born that milk was like really hard to find for me, and then. But I think everything just changed really fast around that time. So late 80s, my father, well, I don't know where he got it from, but it's very unusual. He had a cassette music like player, and then they got this like where I don't even know where they got it from. It's really unusual. There's no shops selling that because it's almost impossible to get that allowance ticket to get a what you call a stereo player, right? And he got that, and then immediately our place became the public dance house. And everyone want to come have a look at this amazing thing that you put this box in and plays music, and they can listen to again and again and again. And then I swear they have less than 10 cassette, and then they just rotate like all the time. And then everyone just dance. And they don't know how to dance, right? Like they haven't even seen it on TV or something. So they all look very silly. Like, it's nonstop for months. So they were really happy though. But I was like, oh God, you know, that was like a childhood trauma. but I remember how happy they were, and then so you know I was telling Becky all about this, and all the silly stuff.
I guess that's like kind of why I felt like it was appropriate to have Mindy like singing in that song for the first time, using her voice to reflect like the first
dance,
time. Yeah, the dance, because then it's not referencing anything like that you've done before. It's true expression. It's true coming from somewhere within you. Whereas I think. Yeah, I think.
But
the recording I think was really close to when you were first using your voice like that. So I think on the recording it's like now, you know, now you hear her and she sounds
now I improved.
But it's got that like naivety, and there's something really beautiful about, especially about like, you know, hearing the story of Mindy being able to watch people, including her parents, kind of dancing, using their bodies in a way that they'd not learned how to do, you know, that.
Yeah, but she was so happy. Special. So, you know, I think the essence is that I remember she actually delivered the happiness I remembered from like the long time ago. And then, so I was like, wow, that's exactly the same feeling. So I guess like she should dance more. She always feel that happy when she's dancing.
Did she love the clip?
Yeah, she loved it. And,
Moment of fame.
Yeah.
The track is also dedicated to your mum. And I guess I was interested in this idea of legacy and like music maybe being a bridge to the afterlife or to our loved ones who might not be with us anymore. I wonder if you could maybe say something about this, Becky.
Yeah, I think so. I think like, well, I guess my mum's presence is felt throughout this collaboration just purely because that was the most recent big event that had happened prior to making that music. But it's kind of funny because after my mum passed away, I found my way. I don't know if this speaks to the question as much, but it's just what I'm thinking about. My grief process at that point was to explore through music. So I guess it's so intense. Like, especially depending on your relationship with your parents. Obviously, it's different for everybody. Each parental relationship to a child is different. But like mine was like I'm the youngest child. And I never fully had, like, this sounds like I'm processing something that I'm not, but I never really had her total attention because, youngest of three. And but so when I did, I felt it so intensely. Like, whenever I did, I was like, whoa, like, I mean, I've got a sense of what the first child people will raise. I got a sense of what it must be like to be that person. And it was like a stop me in my tracks kind of love. Like, it was very, very special. I think driven by that, I found my way to music quite soon after my mum's passing, and I did feel expressing that felt very natural and easy, like being a bridge to feel like I could connect with her through memorializing her through song. And I do it a lot in my own songwriting, and on my next album that I'm working on as well, there's a lot of feelings that are spurred from like trying to connect back to her, which is that love, maternal love. And I think like when my first son died, Percy, I did not feel that at all. I don't know if it's because I didn't have a history with him beyond like the first few days of life and pregnancy, but I could not find my way back to music for a really long time. Actually, listening to music kind of broke me. I was like, this is so alienating. Nothing speaks to my experience. Like, everything is so, like, written by someone that I definitely know has not had that experience. Maybe they, I couldn't find people that I could relate to in music. It took me a while. And then eventually I came back around and, I could find my way through music again. And one of the songs on the album was written the March song.
Yeah.
I always stuttered when I said that because I'm kind of like weird about that song because I kind of made it and Mindy was like, you might never be able to perform this song. I wrote it during Percy's pregnancy, but then listening and anticipating him arriving.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, obviously it's super tender, but I have found a way to kind of perform it again, which is so unexpected. And I did that in our recent shows.
So
and
proud of.
yeah, like I remember Mindy being like, we don't have to play that song. But yes, it's I guess time is crazy and like people suffer immense tragedies in their lives and some more than others and some might never really suffer through something so hard. And I think, I don't know, I just feel like it is the essence of life to suffer and to have adversity, and we've been so shielded from it in our like Western societies that we think it's unusual or we think that it's wrong to have these things happen, but they just happen, you know. And I mean, I'm not saying that like accept everything blindly. It's more so that like honor that is like a part of like it's not something to I guess fight against or feel a victim of. It's like these kinds of adversities, like, yeah, unfortunately, it's so asymmetrical in the way that suffering, is placed in our kind of society. But I do think that it taught me a lot about what some people must live through, and like, and even more understanding in terms of like, you asked a question before about, I don't think we quite answered it, but about our different experiences. So my mum was, first generation migrant, and I'm learning more about what her experience might have been through Mindy's experience, and also I'll just say this as well now, like the privilege of having a stance in a country or society, of having political stance we talked about too, is such a privilege, because some people are just feeling very lucky just to be, having a place in a society, so they don't want to do anything because of what they've come from to destabilize that possibility. So I think that's something I've really been thinking a lot about through our collaboration as well. And I just think that that I've learned a lot. I think it's been a really valuable kind of thing to learn from people who have experienced different cultural contexts, but are kind of trying to make their way in the same cultural context. And I think if you're only collaborating or working with people from the same kind of lived experience, then you're really limiting your ability to grow and to have your mind challenged and opened and stuff.
Yeah, and I think there's another layer into the entire project. Is like, okay, we will talk about understanding, we'll talk about like a lot in life, similar life event, but another very important thing is, we really hope that our music could help people to process things and then provide a safe space for healing space. And because, losing people that we love, it's happening every day around us. So, so I just hope that this music could bring comfort to those who need it.
And space for compassion as well.
I think space, and also people hopefully can acknowledge like feelings that, it's just because something's difficult doesn't mean it's like, it should be avoided or something like that, or it feels uncomfortable. Actually, like sitting with discomfort is a really important skill to develop. So, I think, what Mindy said about wanting to keeping our songs almost like the naivety and the kind of, it's the rawness in which they kind of evolved, and it's like us being vulnerable. So hopefully encouraging other people to be able to be vulnerable back.
And on that note of vulnerability, we might see if anyone has a question out there in the audience. We've got a short amount of time before Mindy and Becky play a few more songs from Origin of You. So there's some roving mics, I think, around. So be vulnerable and ask your question.
We can't actually see your faces, so you're kind of shielded by darkness,
black
if that
cloud
makes
out
you
there.
feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
I just found that conversation so incredibly moving. Thanks for being so open and porous about your friendship and collaboration. Amazing, absolutely amazing. So have there been, I'm just going to go there, challenges or tensions in the collaboration as well, because that's always interesting, like, you know, those little bits of sand, the gristle that kind of gets things moving.
All right, I want to say the first. Okay, there was, I don't think we have a huge disagreement or anything like it, but we do, on certain things, we have different opinions. And we all have a very strong, I would say we have strong opinions, but we have a different interpretation sometimes to a thing. And we often would go into a very intense discussion. And
right before we're needing to perform.
yeah, that's a really good story. Like we were gonna play at Monoforma, like we're taking a morning flight, and you know, we just sit on an airplane, like probably started right afterwards, like I would start get into like a really deep conversation about political situation, about everything, war and the human, whether it's hope or not, and all this like, and then we actually just the whole way until like we probably wrapped up when we landed.
I think the plane landing forced us.
I was like, oh yeah, like we have to stop. And then we had a look at the lady sitting next to us. She was traumatized. She was like, what do I have to say? It's early in the morning. You know,
It was like 6 a.m. or something
yeah,
like
she
that.
was like, her eyes like, like that.
Not a beat, skipped straight into it. I think that's kind of referencing that those challenges.
We go really intense. Like, you know, it doesn't mean that we have to really agree absolutely on everything. But, you know, one thing very good is we do all believe in that people can have different opinions and that they should be all valued. Like,
I think, and I think it really comes down to like understanding why you have different opinions and what you've lived through. So I think
discussion.
But I think that's also speaks to respecting each other. Like we know that going deep and having those discussions won't leave the friendship in any different state. Where I think maybe some people
couldn't take it. It's just like, you know, and
I think it's what you said. It's compassion for each other. Like no matter. But I think like
trust.
What else? I don't know. What else? Trying to dig up stuff. What else? I think Mindy and I are both very strong-minded, but interestingly, I feel like I'm able to kind of break the shackles of my sibling, whatever that is, that like through this relationship, like I can kind of get rid of some learned like sibling issues that I've had to fight for my boy, you know, that kind of thing. I don't feel that in it. So this is good exercise of like, you know, working
equal, like Well, it's actually really good. Like I think trust is definitely number one. Like a lot of conversation we had, if we show it to some other people, I think they'll really test their friendship.
100%. Yeah. I don't think that, but I think that we're both very life's short, no bullshit. Like to kind of just like.
And then the important thing, we all know who we are, who each other is, and then we just know that person is valuable to us, and then we're always willing to know more and why you think like that, rather than accuse why you think it was like. Tell me why, you know, tell me why. Like
I think so, and also I think actually that where we landed after that particular flight discussion was like we can be a bit yin yang sometimes, because Mindy was like.
You're so optimistic.
She thinks I'm optimistic and hopeful. Like, but I didn't know.
This is human being. Human being is like hopeless. Look at the last 2,000 years. Let me tell you what happened. It hasn't changed. You know, it's like what you think like.
And I don't know. I don't know if I'm like that.
You probably have moments where you're one and the other.
Exactly.
Switch.
Yeah, but like we all, you know, we're all kind of like we all later, like we did find out why we think differently, which is. Need another 2 hours or another flight to Hobart.
Come back next week for part two. We probably have time for one more question if there is one.
Oh, I've grabbed the mic, so.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I've grabbed the mic, so I do have a question. I was really struck by the way that you said that you had not felt like you had collaborated with an equal before you collaborated with each other. And I wanted you to unpack that a little bit and to talk about whether you felt that you've been limited by your perception of how being a female musician should behave, or what was the thing that made you feel that you weren't collaborating with equals before?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to unpack. I think it's largely to do with expectation and maybe lack of trust in some collaborations feeling very transactional, like someone just wants something from you. So regardless of what's said, there's an expectation, even if you're told it's not there, they still have an idea of what they hope to get from you. And I just did not feel that with Mindy at all. Like I don't think people are intentionally going into collaborations with that mindset, but sometimes they just are. They have a perception, as particularly as a musician, if you've already got a back catalogue, then people have an idea of what you do, and they expect some of that on the thing that they're asking you to be a part of. So
they give you a role, and then you need to do the thing.
You need to do it. So I think what we really allowed each other we didn't have any preconceptions of what our music would sound like or where it would go.
Yeah.
We didn't even curate the kind of sounds that we had before we used them. It was just what was set up in my studio at the time.
Yeah.
And we recorded with that. And I think in that sense it felt equal, because I didn't feel like if one person took a lead in one track, it wouldn't mean that they were suddenly the lead project person.
Yeah,
it was like just going to shift and evolve for whatever it needed to be. And it feels very much fluid like that. Whereas I just think it's kind of difficult in collaborations, particularly playing with bands and stuff, for there not to be some kind of leadership role. I mean, it's hard to collaborate. It's hard. It's like designing by committee kind of thing. Like you do need a leader when it gets to a certain number of people, but with a duo, you've got this perfect kind of symmetry. So I feel like there's more possibility for equality in a creative kind of context.
Yeah, and also the music we make is not like, it's not like people have done the similar stuff and then the audience has expectations, like we can just do anything we want. And for example, like a person who doesn't sing has to sing, and like all this like.
Yeah, that's I guess that's what I mean about the equal thing. Like, I think if I don't use my voice sometimes when I'm invited, sometimes people are like, you're gonna, they hand me a mic and then you're gonna,
versus singing.
Or like or say I do something, but it doesn't, like it was particularly with when I'm sitting in that dance music space, there's so many interactions I've had where people just want a certain kind of vocal, and I'd be happier if they were like just treating me like a session person that would just ask me to sing exactly. Just tell me what you want to sing, because I'm not going to find it. And just But I think, I think in band stuff, it's just it's hard to kind of find and sustain a cohesive band for a number of years when you are like the predominant songwriter or something like that. But band stuff just has its own kind of, that's a whole nother kind of chat really, like about unpacking how to have a creatively satisfying and fulfilling for each member band. I think that also should be fluid, because inevitably some band members want to go and spread their own wings and have their own project, and when you notice a group is not flowing as it should, it's often because some person's dissatisfied because they're not getting what they want.
That's why a band breaks up.
And they should. But when you balance a band project with a solo project, like I think it's all about balance. And as long as if you have something to say that you need to express, just making sure you have the right outlets for it, and not trying to channel it all into one project that may not be the right project for it, if that makes sense. I don't know.
We also haven't really had any plans like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to get popular. We're like, when we're doing this, we're just purely, I think, for our own joy, like come together, play music, and maybe we should do that, maybe we should do that. So it's less pressure of like, it has to make up music that people is going to love it, like, we're making a hit, and there's definitely no any thoughts on that. So it's kind of like just a play, like a...
Yeah, it's playful. And maybe that's also speaking to the equality. It's keeping that play thing alive.
Keeping it yin and yang as well.
Yeah.
And we better let you play some music as well. But before that, just please join me in thanking Becky and Mindy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The first piece we're going to play is called Téng. So it means pain. And that's the piece we made, and then thinking of the painful experience we had. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next, we're gonna play that Watch My Mom Dance. Okay, I'm going to sing. Don't be scared. All right. Okay.
你问我出生前在做什么？
You asked me what I was doing before I was born.
我答我在天上挑妈妈。
I told you I saw my mother in the sky.
看见你了，觉得你特别好。
I saw you and I knew you were the one.
想做你的儿子，可又担心没那个运气。
I want to be your son. I worry I might not have that luck.
没想到第二天一早，我已经在你肚子里了。
I didn't expect. Early next morning, I'm already in your belly.
Okay, next we're gonna play our last piece, and it's called I Don't Speak Your Language.
What?
什么？我听不懂。嘿。
What?
注意。
Say it again.
转身。
Say it again.
不懂，不懂。嘿。不懂。什么？
I can't understand.
不懂。再说一遍。什么？
Speak more slowly.
什么？
Say it again.
再说一遍。嘿。
I can't understand you.
什么？不懂。
What?
转身。嘿。
Hey.
注意。
Hey.
嘿。转身。转身。嘿。注意。不懂。不懂。再说一遍。
I
嘿。
don't speak your language.
不懂。
But not because I don't want to.
什么？
My mom never taught
说。
me.
再说
But
一
not
遍。
because she didn't want to. She was
Budong.
just trying to fit in. I was just
什
trying
么？
to fit in. We're all just
什
trying
么
to fit in. We're all just trying to fit in.
嘿。
I don't speak your
转身。
language. What? But not because I don't want to.
什么？注意。
My
嘿
mom。
转
never
身。嘿。
taught me. Not because she don't
不
want
懂。
to.
不懂。转身。注意。嘿。
She was just trying to fit in. Hey! I was just trying to fit in. What?
不
Hey!
懂。什么？
We're all just trying to fit in.
什么？
All just
什么？
trying to fit in. I don't speak
Hey!
your language.
你
Hey,
说
hey,
什么？嘿。
hey, hey. Hey, hey.
什么？
Hey, hey.
什么？再说一遍。什么？不懂。什么？什么？再说一遍。嘿。
I don't speak your language.
说什么？不懂。听不懂。听不懂。嘿。
Hello?
转身。
Hello?
什么？ 么不懂？嘿，
嘿，
不懂。转身，不懂，我听不懂。
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, and it's really lovely to be here with you tonight and talk
Thanks.
about story.
Yeah, thanks for coming and giving
Yeah,
us
we're
your
gonna
ears.
be over there if you want to say hi.
And to the Wheeler Centre for hosting this
Yeah,
event.
wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah.